Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I used to joke that our house was a museum of small noises. The dishwasher thunk hit the same spot in the cycle every time. The AC kicked on like a sigh from an old dog. Our son, Noah, had a way of coming down the stairs that told me what mood he was in by the third step. It made me feel like I knew my life the way a barista knows the morning crowd, who needs extra sugar, who's pretending they don't. Friday nights were everyone at the table nights. Not because I'm some Norman Rockwell reenactor, but because the week gets away from you if you don't draw a line around it. Pizza or tacos, paper napkins, one topic we agree not to argue about. Laura teased me that I liked the ritual more than the food. She wasn't wrong. That night, we were doing tacos. My sister had dropped off her extra Bluetooth speaker because ours sounded like a tin can, which is the kind of feedback you get from people who think every object is a lifestyle. Noah had been talking all week about this new live feature his school's parents hated and the kids loved, some mashup app where you could go live to your close friends list that magically included half the 7th grade. Just for jokes, Dad, he'd said. We're doing family dinner like movies, the cringe kind. He promised to keep it clean. I told him no faces without permission, no addresses, no last names, no filming while people are chewing like animals. He saluted. It made me feel a million years old. Our neighbors, the McKennas, were coming by for dessert, the kind of people you can trust to pretend your kitchen isn't as messy as it is. My friend Walt, who lives down the block and believes barbecue is a religion, had said he might pop in. It was one of those early spring evenings where the air hasn't decided what to be. The back door was cracked. You could hear a little kid biking past, his training wheels clacking the pavement like applause. "Don't forget the hot sauce," Laura called from the hallway. "It's in the hall closet because this kitchen was designed by a person who hated spices." Laura has this way of narrating, cheerfully, when she's nervous. It fills spaces that might otherwise ask questions. Lately, there had been a lot of narration in our house. New job for her, long hours, whispers of client dinners, the phone face down more than it used to be. I told myself grown-ups earn privacy. I told myself we were in a season and seasons change. I told myself enough stories that when the wrong one came, I didn't recognize it at first. Noah set his phone on a little tripod he'd bought with birthday money and propped it near the fruit bowl. "Angle is good?" he asked. "Angle is fine," I said, pretending I knew what that meant. "Remember, no faces unless people say yes." "I'll blur after," he said, toggling some filter. "Real filmmakers fix in post." "Real dads don't want to be content," I said. He grinned. We ate. We did the easy banter that families do when they're not ready for the real stuff. "What did you learn today?" "That the cafeteria chicken is not actually chicken." "What's the plan for Saturday?" "Garage clean-out for me, soccer for Noah, something with my laptop for Laura." Noah raised his phone a few times, gave a running commentary for the kids who would later watch in bed with their volume too high. "My dad has a no phones at the table rule," he said to the camera, but he waived it for content. "We stand a flexible king." He winked at me. I rolled my eyes in the universal language of fathers. Halfway through, Laura's phone pinged from the buffet cabinet where she'd set it to charge. It was face down, buzzing the way a quiet animal tries not to be noticed. She stood to go get napkins, and the ping turned into a call, a long trill that she didn't move to answer. I saw her glance at the cabinet and then away, a flicker so fast I might have missed it if I hadn't been watching her lately like a man watches a sky he wants to trust. Noah, doing his little director thing, announced to his viewers, "Dinner Step 2, Dessert Diplomacy," and jogged to the living room to grab the speaker my sister had dropped off. He set it on the buffet, tapped a button, and it chirped, "Paired." With what, I didn't think to ask. Laura was still in the hallway. Noah, trying to play DJ, tapped his phone. "Let's get some classic dinner jams," he said, and scrolled to a playlist that consisted almost entirely of songs that sound like the inside of a sneaker store. The speaker chirped again, then fell silent. And then the room spoke, in a voice that wasn't ours. "Hey, beautiful," a man said. Clear as daylight. Warm, confident, the kind of voice that is never needed to wonder whether it's allowed in the room. He laughed softly, Like the sound itself was a private gift. "Did you land? I miss your face." The words came from the speaker, but they came, too, from everywhere: the air, the walls, the eyes of the people who didn't know where to look. Laura's phone, in the cabinet, had answered itself to Bluetooth, as if technology had finally decided to be honest in our house, since the people weren't. Noah's live feed stared at the fruit bowl. On his screen, tiny hearts floated up the side. Comments ticked in from classmates with handles like SK8 Noah and Maddie Mathlete. Who is that? Is this plan? Question mark. Dude, turn it up. No way, no way. The app gleefully told him his close friends count was 38. It might as well have been the county. I reached for the speaker. The voice kept going, because why should it stop? It was in a hurry to be heard. "I've been thinking about last night," it said. "About the way you..." I thumbed the power button. The room fell into a silence so perfect it felt rude to breathe. Laura stood in the doorway, napkins in one hand, her face a mask people put on when they're about to be in a car crash. Noah looked from the speaker to her to me, waiting for one of us to make this into something it wasn't. The neighbors knocked at the back door, the polite tap of people carrying pie. Noah whispered, "Dad?" I pressed the button on the speaker again, held it until the little light went out like a tiny eye. "No more live," I said, steady, the way people talk if they've just decided on one rule in a world without rules. He nodded, hands shaking a little, and tapped his phone. The screen flashed and live. A box popped, "Save to archive?" He looked at me, wrecked. I said, "No." He hit no. Laura set the napkins down too carefully. "Ethan," she said. My name sounded like a question she was hoping someone else would answer. The back door opened. The McKennas came in, smiling the way people smile when they're about to compliment your countertop. "We brought key lime," Megan said, then saw our faces, and the pie hovered in the air without moving. Walt stepped in behind them, took one look, and said, I'll just put this on the counter, because there are sentences men have said for 100 years when they don't know what else you want from them." "Hey," I said, to everyone and no one. "Give us a minute?" My voice found that polite authority people respond to even when they don't know why. "Coffee's on. Be right back." Megan nodded without making it worse. Walt steered her toward the island like he was guiding a plane to a gate. The way we were all suddenly performing normal was embarrassing and sacred. "Noah," I said, eyes on my son, not my wife for a second, because triage is a hierarchy. "Take the dog out back. No phone. Deep breaths." He moved like a person in a fire drill. He clipped the leash on our mutt, Bentley, who has never met a crisis he didn't want to watch, and went onto the deck. Through the door, I could see him stand there, holding the leash and looking at nothing, his face a new shape. I turned to Laura. Her hand went to her mouth and stayed there. "Ethan," she said again. "It's not what?" I didn't let the sentence grow legs. "Laura," I said. "It is exactly what it sounded like." I kept my voice low, because I wasn't going to turn our kitchen into an amphitheater. We can do the longer version later. Right now, we're going to move our son out of the blast radius. Then we're going to tell the truth. "The neighbors," she started. "We'll get over it," I said. "Our kid won't, if we handle this wrong." She nodded like she'd been carrying a board too long and someone finally told her to set it down. She wiped her eyes with the edge of a napkin, the same napkin she'd been pretending to bring in here for a joke a lifetime ago. On the deck, Noah stood like a person waiting for his name. "Dad," he said, when I stepped out, and I thought of all the times I've said buddy to him when I didn't have the right word. I didn't say it now. I put a hand on his shoulder. It felt like putting my palm on the hood of a car to see if it's hot. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said. "This is not on you." He nodded, eyes fixed somewhere past the fence. "Everyone heard," he said. "The live. It was on. Max texted. He said dude." He swallowed. "What are we going to do?" "We're going to breathe," I said. "We're going to take the batteries out of tonight. We're going to be boring. Tomorrow we can be more ambitious." From the kitchen, I heard the scrape of chairs. The neighbors had decided to become very interested in the dessert plates. "Walt, dear man, Started telling a loud, bad story about losing his keys in his own backyard. Megan laughed in the hyper way people do when they're building a wall around you with sound. Inside, Laura stood with her phone in her hand like a strange animal she wasn't sure how to hold. "I'm sorry," she said. "It was too small and too big. I'm sorry." "Okay," I said. "You're going to go upstairs and call him and tell him never to call this number again. You're going to do it on speaker in the office because that's the only room with a door that closes right now. Then you're going to give me your phone. After that, we will decide what to tell whom. But first, you're going to end it." She looked at me like she wanted me to be cruel so she could be righteously angry. I didn't oblige. "Okay," she said. "Okay." She went upstairs. Noah watched her go without moving his head, only his eyes. He didn't ask who him was. I was grateful for the reprieve. Megan appeared at the deck door, face soft. "We're going to give you space," she said. "We'll take the Pine Waltz loudmouth back to our house. If you want to drop Noah with us later, he and Max can pretend the world is normal for an hour." "Thank you," I said. "We might." "And Ethan?" she added, low. "You didn't do this." When the door shut, Noah said, "Dad, is Mom?" "Yep," I said. "That's what it was." He nodded once and then bent to scratch the dog's ears with a kind of ferocity that made Bentley squint. "I hate it," he said. "Me too," I said. Upstairs, the office door clicked shut. A second later, Laura's voice, muffled, then steady. "Andrew," she said. "Do not call me again. Do not text me. Do not email me. Do not appear in any place you think I might be. This was a mistake. It's over." A tiny pause. His voice, faint through the floorboards. "Are you alone?" "No," she said. "I'm not alone. I'm with my family. Don't call again." A beat. "Okay," he said, and I recognized, with a sickening clarity, the tone of a man who thinks okay is a comma, not a period. "Goodbye," she said, and the office went quiet. A minute later, she came down and put the phone in my hand. She didn't say, "This is embarrassing." She didn't say, "I didn't mean to." She said, "I'm sorry." It was a better sentence than the others, but still only the beginning of the work. We called Noah back inside. "We're going to make 3 calls," I said. "First to the McKennas, to thank them and tell them Noah's not available tonight. Second to your school's tech person on Monday morning, to ask them to take down any copy of the stream if it got recorded. Third, to a counselor. For all of us." Noah looked at me like the floor had tilted and he'd found his balance because someone had given him a list. "Can I call Max?" he asked. "Not to talk. Just to hear someone say something dumb." "Yeah," I said. "Call Max." Laura stood with her hands folded like she was waiting for an assignment at a job she wanted back. "Ethan," she said, "I'll tell the neighbors. I'll tell my boss. I'll talk to the school parent group if we need to. I did this. I won't ask you to." "You're going to tell your parents first," I said. "Then HR. Then whatever we decide about the other parents." I looked at Noah. "You don't have to be in any room you don't want to be in." He nodded so hard his hair bounced. "I'm not going to school Monday," he said, like a dare. "You don't have to go Monday," I said. "You will go Tuesday or Wednesday with your head up, because you didn't do anything wrong. If anyone says different, they can talk to me." He smiled at the ground. "You're going to become a meme," he said. Angry dad in the car. "I'm already a meme," I said. "Aging millennial who buys rechargeable batteries." He actually laughed. It sounded like a glass set down gently on a table. That night, Laura slept in the guest room. Noah slept with his light on, not the big light but the little lamp that makes everything look gentler. I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad, because I'm that guy. I made lists, counselor names, HR emails, neighbors to text. I wrote, talk to school, request removal of live archive, ask for parent guidance email. I wrote, phones open. No contact. Calendars shared. It didn't feel like control. It felt like a handrail. On Saturday, we told Laura's parents. Her mother cried in neat, polite tears and said, "We all make mistakes," which made me want to be unkind and I wasn't. Her father put a hand on Noah's shoulder and said, "You're a good boy," which made me step into the hall for a minute and breathe into my fist. On Sunday, Megan texted, "A few parents are already buzzing." We shut it down. We said it was a tech accident and that you're handling family matters. Do you want me to organize a talk to your kids about digital boundaries thing? We can make it boring and not about you. I wrote back, "Do it." Later, I thanked her with a six-pack of the beer Walt likes and a note that said, "You were allowed to make fun of me once, one time for owning a Bluetooth speaker." She wrote back, "Already did." Monday morning, I called the school. The tech coordinator, a man too young to have that much calm, said, "We can't delete what we don't host, but we can issue a takedown request in the apps system if it's been saved publicly. Mostly, these things burn hot and fade. Kids are kinder than we think, until they aren't." He paused. "Tell your son to mute comments for a while. He's allowed to be boring." I printed that sentence and stuck it on the fridge. We saw a counselor on Thursday. The office smelled like lemon and clean carpets. The therapist, Mara, a different Mara than any other story, but licensed in the art of being a decent human, asked for facts, then for feelings, in that order. Laura told the story without dressing it up. I told mine without reducing it to rage because rage is easy and I didn't want easy. Noah came in for the last 15 minutes and said, "I don't want to talk about that night like it's the main character of my life," which made Mara nod like she just heard the assignment. We left with homework, no contact, no unilateral decisions, one family meal a week without phones, one rule for everyone: if you're about to post something, ask, why? The McKennas hosted a backyard hangout a week later. A few parents gave us the soft, curious eyes of people who want to know if it's safe to mention the thing. I nodded once to let them off the hook. Someone started talking about the Little League gum shortage. Walt made ribs and told a story about losing his grill brush in a storm that, against every law of nature, made us laugh. Noah and Max were ridiculous in the way boys are, and for an hour I watched them be loud and stupid and brave, and it felt like a reprieve. When we left, Megan hugged Laura in that precise way women hug when apologizing and absolving in the same gesture. Laura held on a beat longer than politeness required. We didn't fix it in a week. We didn't fix it in a month. We built a scaffolding. Laura sent the HR email. She changed teams at work to avoid the man with the voice. She handed me her phone at night without me asking, and then one evening I forgot to look, and the forgetting felt like progress and a risk at the same time. Noah went back to school. Max remained his friend. A couple of kids tried to be cruel, and they discovered that when 3 other kids say, "Not cool," cruelty gets bored. I wrote the parents who said, "Let us know if he needs a ride," and kept their numbers where I could find them. Sometimes, at night, I'd turn the Bluetooth speaker on and pair it with my own phone. I play the dumbest music I can find, guitar guys who sing about trucks, dad rock I pretended to hate for 20 years, a podcast about how to fix a leaky faucet. The speaker's light glows, obedient, and the sound that comes out is mine. It's the most basic magic, connect one thing to another by naming it. Laura still sleeps in the guest room some nights. Other nights, she falls asleep on the couch, then wakes and goes upstairs without asking me to follow. We are not back. We are not gone. We are in the part of the map that says here be work. Last week, Noah set his phone on the counter while we ate spaghetti and announced, "No live." He said it like a toast. We touched our water glasses. "Too boring," I said. "Too boring," he echoed. Laura smiled at her plate like she hadn't been invited and was grateful to be here anyway. If you ask me what I've learned, I could make a list, because men like me make lists when they don't trust their hearts. Technology is not your enemy. But it's an honest one. Kids don't need you to be perfect. They need you to pick the next right thing and then the next. Neighbors can be a net, if you let them. Apologies are down payments, not deeds. Boring is a form of love. When the speaker pairs, make sure the sound that comes out is yours. Noah asked me yesterday if he could go live at his soccer game to show his friend who broke his ankle the goals. Different account, he said. Different rules. Just the field. No faces. I said yes. Afterward, we sat on the hood of the car and ate gas station ice cream sandwiches. He leaned against my shoulder for a minute in that way that teenage boys forget they're allowed to. I put my hand on the top of his head and didn't say anything in case I scared the moment away. At home, Laura handed me her phone without looking at it and said, "You don't have to." I took it anyway and set it on the counter. We stood at the sink, shoulder to shoulder, rinsing plates, the house making its museum of small noises around us. The speaker, quiet now, glowed a soft blue. When I turn it on, it still chirps, paired. And in the best minutes we have lately, I can almost believe it. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.